Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Meridian, watching the stars through the main screen. His ship had been traveling through space for 3 months now, checking planets and collecting data. It was quiet work, but Jake liked it that way. After 15 years in the Space Navy, he preferred boring missions to exciting ones. The Meridian was not the biggest ship in the human fleet, but it was good at its job. 200 crew members worked on the ship, and most of them were scientists and engineers. They were looking for new planets that humans could live on someday. Lisa Parker sat at her station near the front of the bridge. She was the communications officer, and her job was to listen for signals from space. Most days, she heard nothing, but static and random noise from distant stars. Today felt different. "Captain," Lisa said, turning around in her chair, "I'm getting something strange." Jake walked over to her station. "What kind of strange?" "It's a signal, but not like anything we've made before. The pattern is too regular to be natural, but it's not human technology either." Jake looked at the data on Lisa's screen. The signal was definitely artificial. Someone or something was sending it, and they were close. "How close?" he asked. "Maybe 10 million miles. That's practically next door in space terms." Jake felt his stomach tighten. In all his years of space travel, humans had never found another intelligent species. They had found planets with plants and animals, but never anything that could build spaceships or send radio signals. "Sound general alert," Jake said. "Nothing scary, just let everyone know we might have found something interesting." The ship's alarm made a soft beeping sound. Crew members all over the ship stopped what they were doing and listened to Jake's voice over the speakers. "This is the captain speaking. We have detected what appears to be an artificial signal. All departments should prepare for possible first contact procedures. Stay calm and do your jobs." On the bridge, Commander Alex Turner looked up from his station. Alex was Jake's second in command, and they had served together for 5 years. "Should I contact Earth?" Alex asked. "Not yet," Jake said. "Let's see what we're dealing with first." That decision turned out to be smart because 30 minutes later, 3 massive ships appeared out of nowhere around the Meridian. The alien ships were huge. Each one was at least 10 times bigger than the Meridian. They looked like they were made of silver metal that seemed to glow with its own light. The ships had smooth curves instead of sharp edges, and they moved through space without making any sound that human sensors could detect. "Captain," said Ryan Brooks from the security station. "They just appeared. No warning, no engine signatures. 1 second there was empty space. The next second there they were." Jake stared at the alien ships on the main screen. He had trained for this moment his whole career, but seeing it happen was different from reading about it in books. "Lisa, are they trying to talk to us?" "Yes, sir. They're sending a signal on multiple frequencies. It's in English." Everyone on the bridge looked at Lisa. "English?" Jake asked. "Well, sort of. The computer says they're using some kind of translation device. The voice sounds artificial, but I can understand it." "Put it on speakers." The bridge filled with a strange voice. It sounded like a human speaking, but there was something wrong with it. The words were too perfect, and there were no small mistakes that real people make when they talk. "Greetings, small vessel. This is Commander Zeth Kalar of the Zephyrian Collective. We welcome you to this region of space. Please prepare to receive our diplomatic party." Jake looked at Alex, who shrugged. They had practiced first contact procedures many times, but the aliens were talking like they were in charge. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the human ship UES Meridian. We are pleased to meet you. However, we would prefer to discuss diplomatic meetings rather than just prepare for them." There was a pause. When the alien voice came back, it sounded confused. "We do not understand. You are a young species, yes? You have only recently achieved space travel? We are here to offer you our protection and guidance." Alex whispered to Jake. "They think we're primitives," the alien voice continued. "We have observed your species for a short time. You show promise, but you are clearly new to space travel. The galaxy can be dangerous for young civilizations. We offer to take you under our protection." Jake felt his jaw tighten. The aliens were talking to him like he was a child who needed an adult to hold his hand. "Commander Zeth Kalar, we appreciate your concern, but humans have been traveling in Space for over 200 years. We have colonies on dozens of worlds and a fleet of thousands of ships. Another pause. This one was longer. Ah, yes. We see that you have spread to several nearby systems. This is impressive for such a young species. However, you do not yet understand the true dangers of deep space. There are civilizations that would destroy you without thought. You need our protection. Beth Collins, the chief engineer, was working at her station near the back of the bridge. She caught Jake's eye and made a small gesture toward her screen. She had been quietly scanning the alien ships while they talked. Jake walked over to her station. What do you have, Beth? Their energy signatures are weird, Captain. The ships are big, but they're not putting out much power. Either they're running on very efficient systems or they're not as advanced as they look. Could you tell if they were charging weapons? That's the thing, sir. I don't think they have weapons, at least not the kind we would recognize. Jake thought about this. The aliens had appeared without warning, which meant they had very advanced technology, but they didn't seem to have weapons and they were talking about protection instead of making threats. Lisa, tell them we need time to discuss their offer with our people. Lisa sent the message. The response came back quickly. Of course. We understand that young species need time to make important decisions. We will give you 72 of your hours to consider our generous offer. During this time, we will begin preliminary surveys of your space to better understand your needs. See you. Communication ended. Jake looked around the bridge at his crew. They all had the same expression on their faces. The aliens seemed friendly, but something was wrong. Alex, send a message to Earth. Tell them we have made contact with aliens who want to protect us. Include all our sensor data. Already working. On it, Captain. Ryan, I want you to quietly alert the rest of the fleet. Don't make it sound like an emergency, but make sure everyone knows what's happening. Yes, sir. Jake looked at the alien ships on the main screen. They were beautiful in their own way, but he had a bad feeling about this. In his experience, when someone offered protection without being asked, they usually wanted something in return. The next 72 hours were going to be very interesting. The next morning, Captain Jake Morrison woke up to his alarm at 600 hours. He had barely slept. Every time he closed his eyes, he thought about the 3 alien ships floating outside his vessel. The Zephyrians had been quiet all night, but Jake knew they were watching everything his crew did. On the bridge, Lisa Parker was already at her station. She looked tired too. Any word from the aliens? Jake asked. They sent a message an hour ago. They're starting their surveys of human space today. They wanted us to know so we wouldn't be worried. Jake poured himself coffee from the bridge dispenser. It tasted terrible, but it helped him think. Surveys of our space without asking permission. Commander Alex Turner arrived on the bridge carrying a data pad. Captain, we got a response from Earth. Admiral Williams wants to talk to you privately in 30 minutes. Back on Earth, deep under the North American continent, Admiral Kate Williams sat in a room filled with screens and computers. The room was called the Situation Center, and it was where Earth's military leaders made important decisions. Today, the room was full of people who all looked worried. General Chris Taylor sat across from Admiral Williams. He was reading reports from human colonies all over the galaxy. The aliens have sent small ships to 12 different systems, he said. They're not attacking anything, but they're definitely looking around. What are they looking for? Admiral Williams asked. That's what worries me. Our colony commanders say the alien ships are scanning everything. Defense platforms, shipyards, military bases. They're making a list of everything we have. Dr. Amy Foster walked into the room carrying a thick folder. She was Earth's best expert on alien psychology, even though she had never met an alien before yesterday. I've been studying the communication records from Captain Morrison's ship, she said. Admiral Williams looked up. What did you find? The aliens think we're children. Not stupid exactly, but young and inexperienced. They keep talking about protecting us and guiding us. In their minds, they're being helpful. Helpful by scanning our military installations? General Taylor asked. That's the problem. They probably think they need to know what we have so they can protect us better. To them, we're like a small town that needs a police force. Admiral Williams stood up and walked to a large screen showing a map of human space. Red dots marked where alien ships had been spotted. How many ships do they have? We've counted at least 50 so far, General Taylor said. All small scout vessels. They're fast and hard to track. On the screen, Admiral Williams could see that the aliens were being very thorough. They had visited every major human colony, and most of the smaller ones too. Are our people staying calm? So far, the aliens haven't made any threatening moves. They just scan everything and move on. Back on the Meridian, Captain Morrison finished his private conversation with Admiral Williams. The orders were simple. Keep talking to the aliens, learn as much as possible, and don't start a fight. Lisa. Parker turned around in her chair. Captain, the aliens are asking to speak with you again. Put them through. The same artificial voice filled the bridge. Captain Morrison, this is Commander Zethkalar. We have completed our preliminary surveys of your space. We are impressed by your species expansion, but we have concerns. Jake sat down in his captain's chair. What kind of concerns? Your defensive systems are interesting. You have many weapons for such a young species. Perhaps too many. We are curious why you feel the need for so much military equipment. Commander Alex Turner raised an eyebrow. The aliens had spent the last day scanning human military bases, and now they were asking why humans had weapons. Commander Zethkalar, humans have had to defend themselves for a long time. We've learned that peace is easier to keep when you're prepared for trouble. Prepared for trouble from whom? You are the only intelligent species in this region of space. Who do you fight? Jake realized the aliens didn't understand human history. We used to fight each other. Different groups of humans disagreed about things and went to war. We learned to build better weapons to protect ourselves. There was a long pause. When the alien spoke again, he sounded confused. You fought on yourselves? Your own species? Yes. For thousands of years. We've gotten better at talking instead of fighting, but we still keep weapons in case we need them. Another pause. Jake could imagine the aliens talking to each other, trying to understand what he had told them. This is unusual. In our experience, species develop space travel by working together. We have never encountered a species that reached the stars while still fighting internal wars. Beth Collins looked up from her engineering station. She had been listening to the conversation while running more scans on the alien ships. She caught Jake's attention and shook her head slightly. Her scans showed the same thing as yesterday. The alien ships were big and impressive, but they didn't have much firepower. Commander Zethkalar, Jake said, may I ask about your species? How long have you been traveling in space? We have been a space-faring civilization for over 3,000 of your years. We achieved peace long ago by learning to avoid conflict. When we encounter aggressive species, we seek protection from stronger civilizations or move to safer regions of space. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. The aliens weren't conquerors. They were refugees. Are you running from something now? Yes. A species called the Krillian Empire has been expanding into our territory. They are very aggressive and destroy civilizations that cannot defend themselves. We were forced to leave our homeworld and seek new allies. Now Jake understood. The Zephyrians weren't trying to conquer humanity. They were trying to organize a group of species to hide behind. They thought humans were primitive and weak, so they wanted to add Earth's resources to their collection of protected civilizations. How do you usually protect the species that join your collective? We share our advanced technology and help them build better defenses. In return, they provide resources and support our efforts to avoid the Krillians. Commander Turner wrote a quick note and showed it to Jake. They want to use us as shields. Jake nodded slightly. Commander Zethkalar, your offer is interesting, but humans prefer to handle our own defense. We've been doing it successfully for a long time. Captain Morrison, with respect, you do not understand the scale of the threat. The Krillians have weapons that could destroy your entire civilization. Your species is brave, but bravery cannot stop antimatter warheads. Jake stood up. Perhaps we should arrange a meeting to discuss this in person. I think there are things about humanity that you don't fully understand. That would be acceptable. However, we should warn you that time is limited. The Krillians are still several months away, but we must organize our defenses soon. After the communication ended, Jake looked around the bridge. His crew was staring at him with worried expressions. "So," Alex said quietly, "they want us to join their protection racket before the space bullies show up." "That's about right," Jake replied. "The question is, what happens when we tell them we're not interested in being protected?" 2 days later, Captain Jake Morrison stood in the shuttle bay of the Meridian checking his uniform one more time. Today he would board an alien ship for the first time in human history. The thought made his stomach feel tight, but he tried not to show it. Dr. Amy Foster stood next to him, carrying a bag full of recording equipment and translation devices. She had flown up from Earth just for this meeting. "Remember, Captain," she said, "they think they're helping us. Don't get angry when they talk down to us." Commander Alex Turner finished his equipment check. He was coming along as military advisor, though he was trying not to look too military. "The shuttle is ready, Captain. Are you sure about this?" Jake nodded. "We need to understand what we're dealing with. The only way to do that is to see their ship and talk to them face to face." The human shuttle was small compared to the alien vessels, but it was fast and well armed. Jake had chosen it carefully. He wanted the aliens to see that human technology was not primitive, even if they didn't understand what they were looking at. The flight to the alien flagship took 20 minutes. As they got closer, Jake could see that the Zephyrian ship was even bigger than it looked from far away. It was nearly 2 miles long and covered in smooth metal that seemed to glow with soft blue light. "That's beautiful," Dr. Foster said, looking out the shuttle window. "It's also completely unarmed," Alex whispered. "I'm not picking up any weapon signatures at all." A docking bay opened in the side of the alien ship, and the human shuttle flew inside. The bay was huge and empty except for a few small alien vessels that looked like they were used for scientific work. 3 aliens were waiting for them when they stepped out of the shuttle. They were tall and thin, with pale blue skin and large, dark eyes. They wore flowing robes that seemed to change color in the light. The one in front stepped forward and spoke in perfect English. "Welcome aboard our vessel, humans. I am Commander Zeth Kalar. These are my advisors, Science Officer Velthana and Intelligence Officer Vexthara." Jake stepped forward. "Thank you for having us, Commander. I'm Captain Morrison, and these are Dr. Foster and Commander Turner." The aliens led them through corridors that were wide and tall, clearly built for people larger than humans. Everything was clean and smooth with soft lighting that came from the walls themselves. Jake noticed that there were no visible weapons anywhere, not even guards carrying small arms. They arrived at a large room with a curved table in the center. The walls showed images of space, making it feel like they were floating among the stars. It was impressive, but Jake had seen similar technology on human ships. "Please sit," Commander Zethkalar said, gesturing to chairs that adjusted themselves to fit human bodies. "We are pleased that you accepted our invitation to discuss your species' future." Dr. Foster leaned forward. "Commander Zethkalar, we're curious about your people. How did the Zephyrian Collective begin?" The alien seemed happy to answer. "Our species learned long ago that conflict brings only destruction. We developed advanced technology focused on defense and diplomacy. When we encounter aggressive species, we either negotiate with them or move to safer regions of space." "And the Krillian Empire?" Jake asked. Commander Zethkalar's expression became sad. "The Krillians are different from any species we have encountered. They cannot be negotiated with. They see other civilizations only as resources to be consumed or obstacles to be destroyed." Science Officer Velthana spoke for the first time. Her voice was softer than the commander's. "They destroyed our homeworld 6 months ago. 3 billion of our people died in the attack. Those of us who escaped have been searching for allies ever since." Jake felt sorry for them. Losing their home must have been terrible. But he was also starting to understand their real situation. "How many ships do you have?" "Our fleet consists of 47 vessels of various sizes," Commander Zethkalar said. "Most are designed for exploration and research. We have some defensive capabilities, but nothing that could stand against Krillian warships." Alex asked the next question. What kind of defensive capabilities? Intelligence Officer Vexithara answered. Our ships have energy shields and particle beam weapons. We can defend against most conventional attacks, but the Krillians use antimatter, weapons and quantum disruptors. Jake exchanged a look with Alex. Particle beam weapons were good technology, but humans had been using them for 50 years. The aliens' shields might be more advanced, but their weapons sounded outdated. Commander, Dr. Foster said, you mentioned that you've been forming alliances with other species. How many civilizations are part of your collective? We have protection, agreements with 17 different species across 12 star systems. Most are young civilizations like yourselves, but together we represent significant resources and population. Jake was starting to get a clearer picture. The Zephyrians had been traveling around the galaxy, collecting weak species to hide behind. They offered advanced technology in exchange for resources and soldiers, but the technology they were offering might not be as advanced as they thought. What kind of technology do you usually share? Jake asked. Commander Zeth Kalar gestured, and a holographic display appeared above the table. It showed various devices and systems. We provide improved power generation, better shields, more efficient engines, and enhanced communication systems. Alex studied the display carefully. The technology looked impressive, but it was hard to tell how it compared to human systems without detailed specifications. We're also curious about human technology, Science Officer Velthana said. Our surveys of your space revealed some interesting designs. Your ships are built very differently from ours. How so? Jake asked. Your vessels appear to be designed primarily for combat. Even your exploration ships carry significant weaponry. This is unusual for a species at your level of development. Commander Turner spoke up. Humans have always believed in being prepared for trouble. We'd rather have weapons we don't need than need weapons we don't have. The aliens looked at each other. Intelligence Officer Vexithara spoke carefully. Your weapon systems are more numerous than we expected. Our scans detected energy signatures that we found difficult to classify. Jake realized this was his chance to learn something important. What kind of energy signatures? Your larger ships seem to have power cores that produce far more energy than should be necessary for their size. We are curious about their purpose. Alex smiled slightly. Those are probably our main battle cruisers. They need a lot of power for their weapon systems. Battle cruisers? Commander Zethkalar looked confused. What battles do you fight? You told us your species no longer wars with itself. We don't fight wars anymore, Jake said, but we still prepare for the possibility. Every human military officer studies thousands of years of combat history. We've learned that the best way to avoid fights is to be ready for them. The aliens were quiet for a moment. Finally, Commander Zethkalar spoke. Perhaps it would be helpful if we could observe some of your defensive capabilities. We could better understand how to integrate human forces into our collective defense strategy. Jake looked at his companions. Dr. Foster nodded slightly. Alex was trying not to smile. That could be arranged, Jake said. We could conduct a training exercise. Nothing too impressive, just a demonstration of standard procedures. That would be most educational, Commander Zethkalar said. When could such a demonstration take place? Give us a week to organize it. We'll need to gather some ships and set up a safe area for the exercise. As they prepared to leave the alien ship, Jake thought about what he had learned. The Zephyrians were refugees with outdated weapons, trying to organize weak species into a hiding place. They had no idea what human military capabilities really looked like. In 1 week, that was going to change. 1 week later, the Zephyrian fleet gathered at what they thought was a safe distance from the human military exercise zone. Commander Zethkalar stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the empty space where the humans said they would demonstrate their defensive capabilities. Intelligence Officer Vexthara, he said, what do you expect to see today? Vexthara checked her instruments. Based on our scans of human space, I believe we will observe kinetic projectile weapons and basic energy systems. Perhaps some primitive missile technology. Nothing too advanced for a species so young. Science Officer Velthana was more curious. Their power signatures were unusual. I am interested to see how they use so much energy. Commander Zethkalar nodded. Remember, we are here to evaluate how human forces can support our defensive strategy. Be patient with their limitations. 50 million miles away, Admiral Kate Williams stood on the bridge of the UES Constitution, the flagship of the human Third Fleet. She was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes that had seen 40 years of military service. Today, she commanded the largest gathering of human warships in 20 years. Admiral, said her communications officer, the alien fleet is in position. They're maintaining distance just like we expected. Admiral Williams looked at the tactical display. 12 heavy cruisers, 30 destroyers, and a full carrier group floated in formation around her flagship. Each ship represented the latest in human military technology, built from lessons learned in centuries of warfare. Captain Ross, she said into her communicator, begin the demonstration. Captain Steve Ross commanded the destroyer UES Relentless, one of the newer ships in the fleet. His vessel was only 800 feet long, but it packed more firepower than entire armies from Earth's past. Target locked, Admiral, Captain Ross reported. Firing kinetic impactor. The Relentless launched a single projectile at a small asteroid, 5,000 miles away. The projectile was just a piece of dense metal, but it was traveling at nearly 1/10 the speed of light. When it hit the asteroid, the rock simply disappeared. One moment it was there. The next moment there was only expanding debris and energy. On the Zephyrian flagship, Vexithara stared at her instruments. Commander, that projectile was moving at 30,000 kilometers per second. That should be impossible with kinetic weapons. Commander Zethkalar frowned. Perhaps their targeting systems are more advanced than we assumed. What else do you detect? Back with the human fleet, Admiral Williams nodded to Captain Maria Gonzalez, commander of the heavy cruiser UES Thunderbolt. Captain Gonzalez, demonstrate main battery. The Thunderbolt was a massive ship, nearly half a mile long and bristling with weapon systems. Her main guns were plasma cannons that could punch through a mountain. Target acquired, Captain Gonzalez reported. Firing sustained burst. The plasma beam that erupted from the Thunderbolt was brighter than a small star. It reached across space and touched a small moon that had been selected as a target. The beam held steady for 10 seconds, cutting completely through the rocky satellite. When the beam stopped, the moon was in two pieces, both glowing red-hot from the energy that had passed through them. Science Officer Velthana turned to Commander Zethkalar with wide eyes. Commander, the energy requirements for that weapon should have drained their entire power grid. How are they generating so much power? I don't know, Commander Zethkalar admitted. Perhaps they have multiple ships feeding power to their weapons. They were about to find out they were wrong. Admiral Williams activated the fleet communication system. All fighter squadrons launch for combat demonstration. From the carrier UES Enterprise, 200 small fighter craft poured into space. Each fighter was barely 20 feet long, but they moved like living things, twisting and turning in patterns that seemed impossible. Jake Anderson led Raptor Squadron, 12 fighters flying in perfect formation. He had been flying military spacecraft for 15 years, and his body had been modified with implants that let him survive maneuvers that would kill normal humans. Raptor lead to Fleet Command, Jake said over the radio. Beginning precision strike demonstration. The fighters dove toward a field of small asteroids, their weapons blazing, but these weren't ordinary weapons. Each fighter carried miniaturized versions of ship-mounted systems, including small plasma cannons and quantum torpedoes. The asteroids began exploding in perfectly timed sequences, each blast exactly where the fighters intended. The small spacecraft moved through the debris field like dancers, never slowing down, never missing their targets. Intelligence Officer Vexithara was now openly staring at her scanner displays. Commander, those fighters are pulling over 20 gravities in their turns. The pilots should be dead. Impossible, Commander Zethkalar said. Biological beings cannot survive such forces. Then how are they doing it? On the Constitution, Admiral Williams was watching the alien fleet's position. Her sensors showed their ship slowly backing away to what they probably thought was a safer distance. "Admiral," said Admiral Paul Carter, commander of the fighter wings. "The aliens seem nervous. Should we continue?" "One more demonstration," Admiral Williams said. "Let's show them our new toy." She activated a special communication channel that connected her ship to two other vessels in the fleet. "Captains Davis and Chen, prepare for Nova Cannon test." The Nova Cannon was an experimental weapon that had never been used in combat. It required 3 ships to work together, linking their power systems through quantum fields to create a beam of pure energy. The UES Constitution, UES Defiance, and UES Vengeance moved into a triangle formation. Energy began flowing between the ships in visible streams of light that looked like lightning. "All ships report ready," Admiral Williams announced. "Firing Nova Cannon." The beam that erupted from the center of the triangle was unlike anything the Zephyrians had ever seen. It was not just bright, it was a column of pure destruction that reached across space and touched a large asteroid nearly 1,000,000 miles away. The asteroid didn't just explode. It didn't just break apart. It simply ceased to exist, converted instantly into energy that created a flash visible from several light minutes away. The energy wave from the explosion reached the Zephyrian fleet 30 seconds later, causing their ships to shake and their instruments to flicker. Commander Zethkalar grabbed his command chair to steady himself. "Veltana, what was that?" Science Officer Veltana was studying her instruments with shaking hands. "Commander, that weapon just released more energy than our entire fleet could generate in a year. The explosion was visible from 3 starry systems away." Intelligence Officer Vexathara looked up from her station. "Commander, I'm detecting more human ships jumping into the system. A lot more." "How many more?" "Over 300 vessels, including ships twice the size of their demonstration fleet. They're not just showing us their defensive capabilities. They're showing us a fraction of their total military strength." Commander Zethkalar stared at the tactical display showing hundreds of human warships. Each one was designed for combat, built by a species that had spent thousands of years learning how to destroy things efficiently. "Vexathara," he said quietly. "Send a message to the human fleet. Tell them we would like to arrange another diplomatic meeting." "What should I tell them about the protection agreement?" Commander Zethkalar was quiet for a long moment, watching the human ships on his display. "Tell them we would like to discuss a different kind of arrangement." On the Constitution, Admiral Williams received the alien message and smiled. "Captain, Morrison was right. Sometimes the best diplomacy comes from the barrel of a very large gun. The demonstration was over, but the real negotiations were just beginning." 3 hours after the demonstration, Admiral Kate Williams sat across from Commander Zethkalar in the conference room of the UES Constitution. The meeting was very different from the first one. This time, the aliens sat quietly and listened carefully to everything the humans said. Captain Jake Morrison was there too, along with Dr. Amy Foster and General Chris Taylor, who had arrived from Earth that morning. The general was a big man with scars on his face from old battles, and he made the aliens nervous just by sitting still. "Commander Zethkalar," Admiral Williams began, "I think we need to have an honest conversation about the situation we're all in." The alien leader nodded slowly. "Admiral Williams, we owe you an apology. We made assumptions about your species that were clearly wrong." Dr. Foster leaned forward. "What kind of assumptions?" Science Officer Velthana answered. "We believed that humans were a young species with primitive technology. We thought you needed our protection and guidance. We now understand that we were mistaken." General Taylor spoke for the first time. "How mistaken?" "Intelligence Officer." Vexathara looked uncomfortable. "Our scans after your demonstration show that human military technology is at least 200 years ahead of our own. Your weapon systems are more advanced than anything we have encountered, including Krillian technology." Admiral Williams was surprised. "More advanced than the Krillians? But you said they destroyed your homeworld." Commander Zethkalar's expression became sad. "The Krillians did not defeat us with superior technology, Admiral. They defeated us with numbers and brutality. They sent 1,000 ships against our 50 vessels. They did not care how many of their own people died as long as they won." Captain Morrison understood. You're not refugees because you're weak. You're refugees because you were outnumbered. Exactly. The Krillian Empire controls hundreds of star systems and can build ships faster than most species can destroy them. They do not negotiate, they do not retreat. They simply keep sending more ships until their enemies are dead. Dr. Foster asked the important question. How many ships are we talking about? Vexithera checked her datapad. Our intelligence suggests the Krillians have at least 10,000 warships. They are not individually powerful, but they attack in massive groups that overwhelm any defense. General, Taylor did some quick math in his head. 10,000 ships. That's a big number, but not impossible to handle. The alien stared at him. Commander Zethkalar spoke carefully. General Taylor, did you see the same demonstration we did? Even with your advanced weapons, 10,000 enemies would be difficult to defeat. Maybe, General Taylor said, but humans have been outnumbered before. We've learned some tricks for dealing with large enemy forces. Admiral Williams decided it was time to be completely honest. Commander, the demonstration you saw today was not our full military capability. It was a small training exercise using standard equipment. Standard equipment? Science Officer Velthana asked. The ships you saw today represent about 2% of the human fleet. We have over 15,000 military vessels, plus defense, platforms, orbital fortresses, and automated weapon systems. The aliens were quiet for a long moment. Finally, Commander Zethkalar spoke. 15,000 ships? How is that possible? Your species only achieved space travel recently, Captain Morrison answered. Commander, humans didn't achieve space travel recently. We've been building spaceships for over 2 centuries, and we've been fighting wars for over 2,000 years. We're very good at both. Dr. Foster added, humans developed differently from your species. We didn't achieve peace by avoiding conflict. We achieved peace by becoming so good at war that fighting became too expensive. Admiral Williams pulled up a holographic display showing the human fleet disposition. Every human colony has orbital defenses. Every trade route is patrolled. Every inhabited system has at least one military base. We learned long ago that the best way to keep peace is to be ready for war. Commander Zethkalar studied the display. This is impressive. But even with such forces, the Krillians will not be easily defeated. They are cunning and ruthless. Then we'll need to be more cunning and more ruthless, General Taylor said simply. The alien looked shocked. General, you speak of war as if it were a simple matter. War is never simple, Commander, but it's something humans understand very well. The question is, do you want our help? Admiral Williams leaned back in her chair. Let me be clear about what we're offering. We're not interested in being protected by anyone. We're not interested in joining your collective as junior partners, but we are interested in an alliance between equals. An alliance? Commander Zethkalar asked. A mutual defense treaty. You provide us with your advanced sensors, communication, networks, and knowledge of galactic politics. We provide military support and weapons technology. Both species benefit, and both species maintain their independence. Science Officer Velthana was excited. Your weapons technology combined with our detection systems would create a defensive network unlike anything the galaxy has seen. Dr. Foster smiled. And your diplomatic experience with other species would help us avoid the mistakes you made with us. Commander Zethkalar looked at his advisors, then back at the humans. This would be a very different arrangement from what we originally proposed. Yes, Admiral Williams said. Instead of us hiding behind you, we stand together and fight back. The Krillians will not expect such resistance. They are used to species that flee or surrender quickly. General Taylor grinned and the expression made him look dangerous. Then they're in for a surprise. Captain Morrison had been quiet during most of the discussion, but now he spoke up. Commander, there's something else you should know. When humans make friends, we're very loyal. If you're our allies, we'll fight for you just as hard as we'd fight for ourselves. Intelligence Officer Vexithara consulted her datapad again. According to our latest intelligence, The Krillian advance fleet will reach this region in approximately 4 months. 4 months, Admiral Williams said. That's enough time to set up joint defenses and train our forces to work together. Commander Zeth Kalar stood up slowly. Admiral Williams, on behalf of the Zephyrian Collective, I accept your offer of alliance. We will fight together against the Krillian Empire. General Taylor also stood up. Welcome to the war, Commander. We're going to show the Krillians what happens when they pick on someone who can fight back. 2 weeks later, the first joint human-Zephyrian patrol began operating on the border of Krillian space. Human destroyers equipped with alien sensors worked alongside Zephyrian scout ships carrying human weapons. When the Krillian advance scouts finally arrived, they found something they had never encountered before. An enemy that was ready for them. The message the joint fleet sent back to the Krillian Empire was simple and direct. We are not angry. We are not afraid. We are just heavily armed, and we are not alone. The Krillians had been bullying weak civilizations for centuries. Now they were about to learn what happened when they met a species that had spent thousands of years learning how to win wars. Captain Morrison stood on the bridge of the Meridian, now part of the Joint Fleet Command. He looked at the tactical display showing human and alien ships working together, and he smiled. Humanity had finally found its place in the galaxy, not as servants or masters, but as the friends you wanted to have when the bullies came looking for trouble.